The morning sun cast long shadows across Kensington Palace as Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood by the tall windows of her private study. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the letter that had arrived just hours earlier. The royal household was still asleep, unaware that everything was about to change forever. William found her there, still in her nightgown, tears streaming down her face. He had never seen his wife look so fragile, so broken. The woman who had faced countless public engagements with grace and dignity now seemed like a lost child. "Kate, what's wrong?" he whispered, rushing to her side. She couldn't speak, only handed him the letter with shaking hands. As William read the words, his face went pale. The diagnosis was clear, devastating, and final. The doctors had given her 6 months, maybe less. The letter fell from his hands as he pulled Catherine into his arms. For the first time since their wedding day, they both cried together, not caring about royal protocol or public image. In that moment, they were just a husband and wife facing the unthinkable. Catherine had always been the strength of their family, the one who kept everyone grounded. She had transformed from a commoner to a beloved princess, winning hearts around the world with her warmth and dedication. Now the very life that had brought so much joy to millions was slowly slipping away. William held her tighter, remembering their first meeting at university, their secret courtship, and the moment he knew she was the one. They had built a beautiful life together, raised 3 wonderful children, and served their country with honor. But now time was running out, and there was so much left unsaid, so much left undone. "We can't tell the children yet," Catherine whispered through her tears. "Not until we figure out how to explain this." William nodded, knowing that Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis would be devastated. How do you tell children that their mother, their anchor, might not be there to see them grow up? The weight of keeping this secret felt crushing. They would have to continue their royal duties, smile for cameras, and pretend everything was normal while their world crumbled around them. Catherine wiped her tears and looked at William with determination. "We'll face this together," she said. "Whatever happens, we'll make every moment count." As they stood there in the quiet palace, holding each other close, neither of them could imagine how this news would eventually touch the hearts of people around the world. The love story that had captivated millions was about to face its greatest test, and the palace walls would soon witness both profound sorrow and extraordinary courage. The sun continued to rise over London, unaware that in one small room of Kensington Palace, 2 hearts were breaking while making a promise to fight with everything they had left. 3 weeks had passed since that devastating morning, and Catherine had thrown herself into her royal duties with renewed passion. If her time was limited, she wanted to make every engagement meaningful. William watched her with a mixture of pride and heartbreak as she visited children's hospitals, speaking with young patients who had no idea their beloved princess was fighting the same battle they were. The couple had decided to see the best specialists money could buy, flying quietly to Switzerland and America for second opinions. Each consultation brought the same gentle but firm confirmation. The cancer was aggressive, and while treatment might buy them time, a miracle would be needed for anything more. During a particularly emotional visit to Great Ormond Street Hospital, Catherine sat with a 7-year-old girl named Emma, who was receiving chemotherapy. The little girl, bald from treatment but with sparkling eyes, asked Catherine why she looked so sad. "Sometimes grown-ups have worries too," Catherine replied, fighting back tears, "but being here with you makes me feel much better." Emma reached into her hospital bed drawer and pulled out a small handmade bracelet. "This is for you," she said. "My mummy says when we give something from our heart, it makes the sadness go away." That evening, William found Catherine in their bedroom, holding the bracelet and sobbing. "She's so young, so brave," Catherine whispered. "If she can fight this disease with a smile, then so can I." William sat beside her, and they talked late into the night about their fears, their hopes, and their deep love for each other. The next morning brought unexpected news. Catherine's doctor called with an urgent request to return for more tests. A new treatment had become available, experimental but promising. For the first time in weeks, they felt a glimmer of hope. As they prepared for another trip to the hospital, Catherine looked at herself in the mirror. Her appearance was changing subtly, but she refused to let it show in public. Her stylist had become her closest ally, helping her maintain the polished image the public expected while hiding the physical toll of her illness. Whatever happens, Catherine told William as they walked to their car. "I want our children to remember me as strong. I want them to know that even when life gets scary, we keep going. We keep loving. We keep hoping." William squeezed her hand, amazed by her courage. The woman he had fallen in love with at university had grown into someone even more extraordinary than he could have imagined. Together they drove toward an uncertain future, their love for each other and their family, the only certainty they had left. The palace remained quiet about the princess's condition, but those closest to the royal family began to notice subtle changes: fewer public engagements, more private family time, and an intensity in Catherine's eyes that spoke of someone making the most of precious time. The experimental treatment had given Catherine 2 additional months, but the doctors were honest about the reality they faced. As autumn arrived at Kensington Palace, the family knew they were living on borrowed time. Catherine had made the difficult decision to gradually reduce her public appearances, wanting to spend precious moments with George, Charlotte, and Louis. The children sensed something was different. 9-year-old George had become unusually quiet and protective of his mother. 8-year-old Charlotte asked more questions than usual, while 5-year-old Louis simply wanted to be near Catherine constantly. The family had created their own little world within the palace walls, filled with games, stories, and laughter that felt more precious than gold. One crisp October evening, Catherine finally found the courage to have the conversation she had been dreading. She gathered her children in the cozy sitting room where they often spent family time. William sat beside her, his hand steady in hers as she began to speak. "You know how sometimes flowers are the most beautiful just before winter comes?" she asked gently. The children nodded, not understanding where this was leading. "Well, Mommy has been very sick, and the doctors think I might become an angel soon, watching over you from heaven." The silence that followed was deafening. Charlotte was the first to speak, her voice small and confused. "But angels can't give hugs," she said. "And you haven't taught me how to braid my hair properly yet." Louis climbed into Catherine's lap, burying his face in her shoulder, while George tried to be brave but couldn't stop the tears from falling. "I will always be with you," Catherine promised, holding all 3 children close. "Every time you see a rainbow, every time you help someone who needs it, every time you're kind to others, I'll be right there. And Daddy will take such good care of you." William's voice cracked as he joined the embrace, all 5 of them holding each other in their small circle of love. Over the following weeks, Catherine worked tirelessly to create memories and traditions that would last her children a lifetime. She recorded bedtime stories on video, wrote letters for future birthdays and graduations, and spent hours teaching Charlotte the things only a mother could share. She showed George how to be a good big brother, and helped Louis understand that being the youngest came with special responsibilities too. The palace staff, who had served Catherine for years, watched with heavy hearts as she moved through the halls with quiet dignity. Her lady-in-waiting often found herself wiping away tears as she helped Catherine choose outfits for what they both knew would be some of her final public appearances. During a private moment in the palace garden, Catherine called her parents. The conversation was heartbreaking but necessary. Carol and Michael Middleton had been pillars of strength throughout their daughter's royal journey, and now they faced losing her. "Promise me you'll help William with the children?" Catherine asked through tears. "They'll need their grandparents more than ever." As November arrived with its gray skies and bare trees, Catherine surprised everyone by requesting one final official engagement. She wanted to visit the children's hospital where her journey of understanding had begun, to see Emma and the other young patients who had inspired her courage. Despite her weakening condition, she was determined to give these brave children one last royal visit filled with hope and love. The visit to Great Ormond Street Hospital became one of the most moving moments in Catherine's public life. Despite her frail appearance, which she had carefully hidden beneath elegant makeup and styling, she spent hours with each child, listening to their stories and sharing their hopes. Emma, now 8 and still fighting bravely, presented Catherine with a new bracelet she had made during her latest hospital stay. "This one has extra magic," Emma whispered conspiratorially. "I put all my best wishes inside the beads." Catherine hugged the little girl tightly, knowing this would be their last meeting. The hospital staff later said they had never seen the princess so emotionally present, as if she was pouring every ounce of her remaining strength into that final visit. The photographs from that day, released weeks later, showed Catherine's luminous smile despite her obvious fragility. The public, still unaware of her condition, praised her dedication but began to notice the subtle changes in her appearance. Social media buzzed with concern, but the palace maintained its careful silence. Back at home, William had taken leave from his royal duties to be with his family. The couple spent long evenings talking about everything and nothing, sometimes in comfortable silence, sometimes sharing memories of their life together. They laughed about their university days, their disastrous early attempts at cooking together, and the chaos of 3 young children in a palace designed for formal occasions. Catherine had started experiencing more difficult days, when getting out of bed required enormous effort, but she refused to let these moments defeat her spirit. On her better days, she would surprise the children by organizing impromptu picnics in the palace gardens, or movie marathons in their pajamas. These became the most treasured times for the whole family. During one particularly beautiful December morning, Catherine woke with unusual energy and suggested they all go for a walk in Hyde Park. The family spent the day feeding ducks, playing on the playground, and acting like any normal family enjoying a weekend together. Passers-by occasionally recognized them but respectfully kept their distance, sensing this was a precious private moment. That evening, as they returned to the palace, Catherine pulled William aside. "Today felt like the old days," she said, smiling through tears. "I want you to remember that feeling when things get dark. Remember that we had so many perfect days." William nodded, treasuring her words and the memory of her laugh echoing across the park. The palace staff had become like family during these difficult months. Catherine's personal secretary helped her organize her final wishes, including detailed instructions for the children's care and education. The head chef learned to prepare bland foods that wouldn't upset Catherine's sensitive stomach, while the security team discreetly arranged for the family's increased need for privacy. As Christmas approached, Catherine was determined to give her children one last magical holiday. Despite her declining strength, she insisted on helping decorate the palace Christmas tree, a tradition that had become sacred to their family. George, Charlotte, and Louis carefully placed ornaments while their parents watched, everyone trying to make the moments last forever. The tree had never looked more beautiful, adorned with handmade decorations the children had created over the years, and new ones they made specifically for this Christmas that everyone knew would be different from all the others. Christmas morning arrived with fresh snow covering the palace grounds, creating a magical winter wonderland that seemed designed for Catherine's final holiday with her family. Despite her weakness, she had insisted on being present for every moment, watching from her favorite armchair as the children opened their gifts with the pure joy that only children possess. The family had decided to spend a quiet Christmas, declining the traditional gathering at Sandringham with the extended royal family. Instead, they created their own intimate celebration, complete with Catherine's favorite traditions and new ones they invented together. William had learned to cook her grandmother's Christmas pudding recipe, and despite burning it slightly, the family declared it the best they had ever tasted. After the children had exhausted themselves with their new toys and fallen asleep under the Christmas tree, Catherine and William sat together by the fireplace, sharing a cup of tea and watching the snow fall outside their window. "Do you remember our first Christmas together?" Catherine asked softly. "You were so nervous about giving me that simple silver necklace, worried it wasn't grand enough for a future princess." William smiled at the memory. "You wore it every day for months. I should have known then that you cared more about the thought than the price tag." Catherine touched the same necklace which she still wore regularly. "That's when I knew for certain that you understood me," she whispered. "Really understood who I was underneath all of this royal business." The week between Christmas and New Year passed peacefully, with the family creating a cocoon of love within the palace walls. Catherine spent precious one-on-one time with each child, sharing special memories and ensuring they knew how deeply they were loved. She taught George about responsibility and kindness, showed Charlotte how to be strong while staying gentle, and helped Louis understand that being the baby of the family was a special gift, not a burden. On New Year's Eve, Catherine made a request that surprised everyone. She wanted to step onto the palace balcony at midnight, just for a moment to see the London fireworks and feel the crisp night air. Wrapped in blankets and supported by William, she stood overlooking the city she had served with such dedication. The fireworks painted the sky in brilliant colors, while the distant sounds of celebration drifted across the Thames. "It's beautiful," she whispered, leaning against William's shoulder. "All those people down there living their lives, falling in love, raising families. We're all connected, aren't we?" William held her closer, knowing these philosophical moments had become more frequent as Catherine contemplated what lay ahead. The first week of January brought a decline that everyone had been dreading. Catherine's doctors advised that her time was now measured in days rather than weeks. The family made the decision to bring her bed into the main sitting room, where she could be surrounded by the noise and chaos of normal family life, instead of isolated in a bedroom. The children adapted remarkably well to this new arrangement, doing their homework nearby, playing quiet games, and reading stories aloud to their mother. Charlotte had become particularly nurturing, carefully arranging Catherine's pillows and bringing her small gifts she had made in art class. George helped his father with practical matters, showing maturity beyond his 9 years, while Louis simply wanted to curl up next to his mother as much as possible. The palace staff moved quietly through their duties, many of them wiping away tears as they witnessed the family's extraordinary grace under impossible circumstances. Catherine's strength in facing her mortality with such dignity had inspired everyone around her, creating an atmosphere of profound love rather than despair. On a quiet Tuesday morning in mid-January, Catherine woke with an unusual clarity and peace that surprised everyone. She had been drifting in and out of consciousness for several days, but suddenly seemed more present than she had been in weeks. William, who had barely left her side, noticed the change immediately and called the children, who were having breakfast in the nearby dining room. "I think today might be our special goodbye day," Catherine told them gently, her voice weak but steady. The children had been prepared for this moment, but hearing the words still brought fresh tears. They climbed carefully onto the large sofa where Catherine was resting, arranging themselves around her like they had done so many times during their bedtime story routines. Catherine spent the morning sharing her final messages with each child. To George, she gave a handwritten letter to be opened on his 18th birthday, along with her father's watch that she had kept for this moment. "You're going to be such a wonderful man," she whispered, stroking his hair. "Take care of your brother and sister, but remember to take care of yourself too." For Charlotte, she had prepared a jewelry box filled with her most treasured pieces, not the grand royal jewels, but the simple items that held personal meaning. "These tell the story of our family," Catherine explained. "The earrings Daddy gave me when you were born, the bracelet from our first anniversary, the ring from Grandma Middleton. Someday when you're ready, they'll be yours." Little Louis received a stuffed animal that had been Catherine's childhood companion, along with a recording device filled with her voice singing his favorite lullabies. "When you miss me most," she said, holding him close, "you can press this button and remember that Mummy's love never goes away. It just changes into a different kind of love that lives in your heart forever." The family spent the afternoon looking through photo albums, sharing favorite memories, and simply being together. Catherine's parents arrived in the early evening, along with William's father, King Charles, who had maintained a dignified but emotional presence throughout his daughter-in-law's illness. The room filled with quiet conversation, gentle laughter, and the kind of love that transcends words. As the sun began to set, casting golden light through the tall windows, Catherine asked for a few moments alone with William. The others respectfully moved to the adjoining room, close enough to return quickly but giving the couple their privacy. "Thank you," Catherine whispered, her hand in his, "for everything. For loving me when I was just Kate from Berkshire, for standing by me when I didn't know how to be a princess, for giving me the most beautiful children, for these perfect years together." William couldn't speak, only held her hand tighter and kissed her forehead. "Promise me you'll find happiness again," she continued. "Not right away, but someday. The children need to see that love doesn't end with loss, that it grows and changes and finds new ways to flourish. You have so much love left to give." William finally found his voice. "I promise," he whispered. "But no one could ever replace what we had." "I don't want to be replaced," Catherine smiled softly. "I want to be remembered. I want our love story to inspire others to love more deeply, to appreciate each day, to never take each other for granted." As the evening deepened, the family gathered once more around Catherine's bedside, holding hands and sharing the profound peace that comes when love is freely given and received without condition. Catherine passed peacefully in the early hours of Wednesday morning, surrounded by her family and bathed in the soft light of dawn, breaking over London. Her final moments were serene, her breathing gradually becoming lighter until it simply stopped, like a gentle sigh of contentment. William held her hand while the children slept curled up nearby, having dozed off during their vigil, but somehow sensing when their mother's spirit had departed. The palace remained silent for several hours as the family processed their grief privately. When the formal announcement was finally made at noon, the news sent shockwaves around the world. Within minutes, people began gathering outside Kensington Palace, leaving flowers, photographs, and handwritten notes expressing their love for the princess who had touched so many lives. The outpouring of grief was unprecedented. From world leaders to ordinary citizens, people shared stories of how Catherine's kindness, grace, and authenticity had inspired them. The little girl Emma from Great Ormond Street Hospital, now in remission, left a drawing at the palace gates showing Catherine with angel wings, surrounded by all the children she had comforted during her visits. William's tribute to his wife, read aloud during a televised address, moved millions to tears. Catherine was not just a princess by title, but a princess by nature, he said, his voice steady despite his obvious pain. She showed us all how to live with purpose, how to love without reservation, and how to face life's greatest challenges with dignity and grace. Her legacy lives on in our children, in the countless lives she touched, and in the example she set for anyone who believes in the power of kindness. The funeral, held at Westminster Abbey, was attended by royalty, dignitaries, and representatives from every charity Catherine had supported. But the most moving moment came when the three children, dressed in black but wearing small pins with their mother's favorite flowers, walked behind her coffin with remarkable composure. George held Charlotte's hand while William carried Louis. The family united in their grief but stronger than ever in their love. The service included readings from Catherine's favorite books, music she had chosen herself, and a final recording of her voice reading a children's story about love that never dies. There wasn't a dry eye in the abbey as her words filled the sacred space, reminding everyone that some bonds transcend death. In the months that followed, William and his children slowly began to rebuild their lives around the foundation Catherine had helped create. The children returned to school, where their teachers and classmates provided gentle support while respecting their need for normalcy. William resumed his royal duties, carrying forward the charitable work that had meant so much to Catherine. The Catherine Memorial Foundation was established to continue her work with children's hospitals, mental health awareness, and family support services. Emma, the brave little girl from the hospital, became one of the foundation's first young ambassadors, showing that Catherine's influence on children's lives would continue for generations. On the first anniversary of Catherine's death, the family released home videos of their final months together, showing intimate moments of love, laughter, and courage that had remained private during her illness. The world witnessed a family facing terminal illness with extraordinary grace, proving that love, indeed, conquers all. William often visited Catherine's favorite bench in Kensington Gardens, where he would sit quietly and remember their conversations about life, love, and legacy. The inscription they had chosen for her memorial captured her essence perfectly. A beloved wife, mother and princess who showed us all how to live, how to love, and how to say goodbye with grace. The palace that had once been filled with tears had slowly transformed into a place where Catherine's spirit lived on through her family's continued service, her children's growing wisdom, and the countless lives she had touched during her too brief but remarkably full life.